Welcome to Wils Bach's Song Pod, a show where we dig deep into the songs and artists that move us and how we're moved to craft the songs we write. I'm Tim Wils Bach, and I write, release, and perform music as Wils Bach, and you can find me anywhere you stream music. Let's dig in. My guest today grew up in Richmond, Virginia, started playing guitar and writing music at age 9, released his first album, Sounds Off, in 2000, after which he moved to Memphis, Tennessee in the summer of 2001, and from 2003 to 2009 worked as a tour guide at the famous Sun Studio, where he one day gave a private tour to Steve Jobs in the spring of 2009. Jobs was so impressed with David that he hired him to come to work for iTunes, which took David to San Jose, California in the fall of 2009. After a move to LA in 2019, he's still with Apple and still making his brand of playful, mostly upbeat power pop music. An impressive 9 records worth, including most recently the Shelby EP. Welcome to Wils Bach's Song Pod. David Brookings, how are you?
Thanks, Will. How are you? My whole life just flashed before my eyes, or my ears, I guess.
Yeah, I always ask, did I get everything right? Because I basically just kind of do a web dive and yeah.
Nice. That's pretty much what's happened musically.
Excellent. 9 albums that's pretty impressive.
Well, sometimes I feel like I wish there was more to show for it, but it's just what I do. I write songs, I put one out, and then I wait a couple years and I put another one out. And since 2000, that's just what it is. So I keep doing it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep doing it till the end.
Nice. Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I just about to release my 5th record comes out next Friday. So it's been different bands for me. I had 2 with Paging Raymond, 1 with a band called Peel, and then this will be my 2nd solo record as my my fancy artist name, Wils Bach. So
it's just good for the soul, and
yeah, for sure. I mean, I go back and forth. I mean, you and I both have kids, and like you mentioned, there's not a whole lot to show for it at this point, other than just a body of work. And but yeah, I couldn't stop if I tried. There was a period where I did stop for a little bit, but I'm like, I can't. I just have to keep, playing, showing up, and just strapping on the guitar and doing the thing.
Well, we say there's nothing to show for it, but I think it's more than that. But it's kind of in the cracks, like what would we be or do without that? And it's an art form, but it's also like, streaming, which I work in, so I'm a little biased, but there's people listening, why are some people listening in Australia or Japan? That's always interesting to me, but to look at streaming numbers, it's very, that's the good part, just that people are listening.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice. Like when you and I both started, there was a lot more kind of gatekeeping, right? You could press your own CD and get it recorded, and that was attainable, but actually getting it onto, the radio was not impossible, but certainly harder to get to a broader audience. So yeah, you're right. In a way, having streaming is definitely nice. Those floodgates have blown wide open though, right? There's so much music now. I'm sure you're probably, the amount that you get and have to sift through is just insane. And so much of it is good too. That's the other thing.
It's like LA. There's so much good and there's so much bad,
Yeah, right.
So
exactly. The yin and yang.
So much of everything.
Nice. So let me get to the central question that this podcast is basically trying to answer, which is, how do you write a song?
Well, it's different. I get a lot of ideas in the car, and so I'll sing things into into an app, into my phone. Other times it's an idea. I don't like to write the same stuff, so a lot of times for me, I think I get my better songs from an idea that hasn't been gone over or explored a million times. In other words, something that's kind of unique. I like writing about things that are that haven't been covered a lot, or at least by me, that I can only do the boy-girl thing so many times. And so I might take a character from a movie that's interesting to me and try to write from his point of view or her point of view. Or the other day I was in so much hell traffic, this new song came called Coldwater Canyon, and it's just about how it takes, an hour and a half to go anywhere in LA. Yeah. But if you put a tune to it and you make it kind of catchy, that's kind of the world I'm trying to be in anyway, then all of a sudden you have a song. And so to your question, how do I write a song? It's different in different ways.
So yeah, I chuckled a little bit when you mentioned Coldwater Canyon. I know exactly what you mean because we both live in about as far west as you can get and still be in Los Angeles.
Right.
But doing that drive to Culver City,
Yeah.
is brutal.
Well, and I go 101 to 405, so that's like the worst thing ever.
It's
The
the worst
Coldwater
thing
Canyon
ever.
hits me if I'm going to Hollywood, and then just it all just sucks.
Yeah,
Actually, it sucks so bad. I try not to think about it. But sometimes you get a song out of it, so it's all right.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because sometimes it is what it is. It's nice to throw on a podcast or an audiobook sometimes. It just kind of.
Yeah.
I do miss that because I've worked from home now basically since the pandemic, and the one thing I miss is like the decompression, the 45-minute decompression that I would get after you have a day of cutting television, and I would get in the car and I had a 45-minute drive home and throw on a podcast or an audiobook, and it was a nice just kind of like, okay, now I can re-enter the world and shake off the day. It was kind of a nice thing.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you're kind of just drawing from a lot of times from your experiences. You have one song that I think is so clever and so fun, and I forget the title of it, but you can tell me about it. But it's this song.
Oh yeah, Tough Crowd. Yeah. I had this gig where I play every Wednesday for 3 years from 4 to 7 in the Memphis airport. And as glamorous as it sounds, people are there just to get a beer or get some food and then get on the plane. So I think they're a little bit. It's shocking that there's even a guitar player there in the corner, but it was fun. And I would, you get tips and sell. This was back in the days when you sell CDs, and Tough Crowd came from that, and that's one of our more popular.
Yeah, and that's
songs
a good sing along
one of our
song
better
too.
streamers.
Get the crowd
so
in there.
We still play Tough Crowd.
That's
quite
always
a bit.
fun.
The band does. Huh. I was playing it the other day at a gig, and a woman like full on yawned, and yawning, yawning's contagious. So I almost started yawning right around the third verse, but mostly it goes over pretty well.
That's a tough crowd when you're singing and there's silence. Nobody claps. In your heart you feel the violence. When you play well and you know it, but the crowd doesn't show it. Only one thing you can say, you should say it out loud. That's a tough crowd. You tell a joke to the room and it's funny. Nobody laughs, but the joke was so funny. It went exactly how you planned it, but they don't understand it. Only one thing you can say, you should say it out proud. That's a tough crowd.
And then your most recent release is an EP, which has Shelby is the featured song. The rest are demos. Is that right?
Yeah, the rest are demos that didn't make the last record. But I think you should put your music out. If it doesn't come out, then it doesn't exist, sort of, or at least that's what I think. If a tree falls in the woods, did anybody see it, kind of thing. It has to come out. Those songs, it just seemed like I had a really good song I wanted to put out, and then so kind of coupled it with 3 other kind of unfinished things. But then it's Shelby, but then the last song on it is "Remember Me," which is a cover of the song from the movie Coco, the Disney Pixar movie.
Oh yeah.
And, my dad passed recently, and that one kind of reminds me of him. And then the Shelby song will most certainly wind up on the next record, but and I also just wanted to put something out. The last record hadn't come out since November 2021, so it was about that time.
And Shelby is your third. So Shelby's your wife.
Mm-hmm. We have 2 daughters together, and they each had a song. So I thought it was kind of time for Shelby has multiple songs about her, but this one's straight out calling her out.
Shelby, you must know I love you. that you really love me too. Shelby, I'd be lost without you. You know I'd do anything for you.
I remember when it came out, I left a comment on your Facebook going, man. Now Sam, I have several songs about my wife, but I've never actually specifically name checked her. So I'm like, now she's gonna hear this. I'm probably gonna have to write a specific Nancy song now.
Yeah.
And Delete Me is fun. I know that's just kind of, a little sketch, but I like the playfulness of that, and it's kind of ripe for the times, right?
Okay, yeah. So, thank you, and that's an idea. Like, I don't think it's common to write a song about how everybody on the left and the right hates each other and all this online social media stuff. Like, well, if you don't think this, then delete me. So that's where that one came from. But also, the song doesn't. I'm not gonna. It doesn't. You still don't know anything about what I think. I'm just saying.
Right.
You don't have the same shoes as me. Delete me. You don't have the same dog as me. Delete me. So there's a ridiculousness a lot of times to the stuff that I write, but I think there's a lot of humor in music that gets missed, and I try to just straight out put it out there.
Yeah, there's definitely listening to your stuff. A lot of it has that very playful. I don't want to say tongue in cheek, but maybe that's a way to describe
some of it. Is.
Yeah,
I kind of struggle with not struggle, but I have serious songs, and then I have a tough crowd is serious, but it's also funny.
Yeah.
When you play well and you know it, but the crowd doesn't show it, that's a real thing. I know my worth and musically, and I think, humbly, I think I'm good. I think our band is good, and we go out there and play, but I don't know if there's going to be 75 people there or 10 people there, or if we'll have a gig like opening for Bryan Adams a few years ago. That was amazing, and have some great gigs. So you just never know. But I think I've reached the point where I'm rambling, but that's, that's what it is.
Yeah, but no, you, like you mentioned, you do a good job of kind of straddling that line between, the serious songs. You take a song like Hard Times, which is a beautiful song and a kind of a moment in time. And it evokes an emotion. But then on the other hand, you've got a song like One of Us is Crazy, which is a super fun, song too, but it's a different vibe then. But you do a good job of kind of melding those two.
Thanks, man. Yeah, Hard Times is dead serious, but it's also got the line about feel the wind through the trees, heaven help you if you sneeze, because I wrote that like in the heart of COVID.
How much more can I take? I've been trying not to break in the hard times. Feel the wind through the trees, heaven help you if you sneeze in the hard times. These are strange days, there's an outrage, everything's fine, it's just hard.
Sometimes I think, like, don't write anything funny in this song, but that seems to happen a lot with my stuff. So especially lately. So maybe I'll just write a real, like, sad bastard serious record sometime. But I like that stuff.
To me, I feel like it's easiest to write the sad bastard songs. But at the same time, like, I don't want a record full of those.
Yeah, it's got to have a good,
Yeah, because I playing those. If you're a live performer, you are. I am too. I know you don't like to play those a lot of times, or not that you don't like to play them, but I like an upbeat crowd. I like people dancing and getting up and shaking their thing, and you play those sad bastard songs, and people are just like,
yeah. Well, and I think it's good. I try to be eclectic enough that it doesn't. That you have an upbeat song, you have a rock out song, you have a ballad, you have all kinds of stuff. And the problem there is then you get like you were saying, power pop for me, and that's probably true. I do a lot of, I'm in that world for sure, but that world, if you stay in power pop, um, it's limiting, and I don't want to just do one thing. And if you put out 9 records, they can't all be the same. It would you know, it would suck. So you gotta mix it up, and so I try to do like I'm writing my life as I get older. You know, those early records, I was in my early 20s, and you're writing about you know, girlfriends and experiences like that, and now I'm writing about, subtly writing about my daughter and her boyfriend, you know, and slipping things in about that. So it's all full circle, and just keeps going on.
Yeah, you have to evolve, and and the songs get better. I'm sure if you're like me, like looking back, like there's one or two that I'm like, that was a good song. That's still a
Hmm.
good song. And then there's a couple I'm like, I might like to kind of work on that one a little more. But
Yeah, I have friends from I'm from Richmond, Virginia, and I have friends that they only know Sounds Off. So when I go back for a homecoming show or whatever, they're like, play Avery or play you know, Party in the Sky. But and I'm like, you know, there's 8 other records, right? But they don't. So they only know
yeah,
you from that moment in time. And even Shelby, she says her favorite albums Sounds Off, and I'm like, what the F are you talking about?
yeah.
Um, but that's a good thing too. So I like playing the old songs.
Yeah, I mean, so much of music is tied to memory, a place or a time. So yeah,
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
easy to get stuck in that. Like, as we get older too, I still try to seek out new music, but I'm still stuck on a lot of times the stuff that I really really loved in the mid 2000s. I've got a Bob Schneider record that came out in 2004 that I still probably listen to once a week, and a handful of those, and that still informs my songwriting. But I still try to listen to the newer stuff and incorporate that, and try to keep it fresh. So yeah, it's a lot to balance.
Yeah, there's studies out there that I think it says that people don't listen to new music after 35, and
Yeah,
I think there's some truth to that. I'm like you, I try to listen and I want to hear new stuff. I don't want to stay where I am, you know, but we like what we like too. So
yeah, yeah, definitely. Do you remember the first song that you ever wrote?
yes, I was about 10. It was called All I'll Ever Want. I did it at a talent show. Man, and I got up and played that thing, and I can't describe, I mean, I can try. When you're, it still happens sometimes, you're playing and it's almost like I'm just in space and I'm showing anybody in that room what I am. It's really hard to describe, but all I remember is dead silence other than me singing and playing that song, and at the end what felt like absolute mania. But it wasn't, but in my mind it was, which actually the last record, Mania at the talent show, that's what I wrote. That's what that's about. But the truth is, it wasn't that at all. You know, I've seen it. My my uncle, you know, video recorded it. It wasn't Mania at all, but it was kind of. And it doesn't really matter what it was. It matters what it was to you and what that moment felt like to you. And I think that's really when I got the bug. And when
Yeah,
you get the bug, when it really bites you, it's not leaving, and it's still here. And I know it is for you too. That's why we do it. That's why you keep writing. That's why you keep playing. The other thing I remember
yeah,
about that song is I showed it to my grandma's mom. So my great grandma, she was old AF, as they say.
hmm
She said, you're too little to be writing stuff like that. And it was just crushing. So well, she's probably right, but yeah, the song was whatever, C, A minor, F, G, but I always definitely remember that's the first one.
Yeah, nice. You mentioned you kind of try to, spread it around a little bit, stylistically, genre wise. And I in the intro I called you power pop. But I mean, is that where do you kind of categorize yourself? Do you not like to do that? Like where?
When people ask what I do, I kind of say, you know, it's pop, alt, I guess,
Yeah,
rock. I mean, singer songwriter. It falls into a lot of stuff. Power pop, I'd say for sure. It's guitar driven music for sure. A lot of harmonies. I try to write a song with a good hook. That's the other thing with all these lyrics, can be as silly or sly as you want them to be, but if it doesn't have a good hook, then the song sucks to me. So the music has to fit the words, and I try to do a lot of not only lyrical turns but like good progressions. And yeah, it's power pop, but I'm going into a couple different directions, because if you stay,
Yeah.
I can't just write a Raspberries record 9 times, so
Right. So you're really digging in, and I mean, it's a craft for you. You're working on the chord progression, and you're focusing on the melody and getting the lyric and the hook right. It's not just, whatever comes out the first time. Hey, this is the song, and I'm dealing with it. You're getting in there and kind of, working it
well,
with your
sometimes
hands
I
a little.
do. I mean, sometimes the song comes really easily. It's like you're fishing, and sometimes you reel one in and sometimes not, but
Right.
and I'll do different things. What definitely does not work is forcing it. If I sit down to
Yeah.
write and it's not there, then it's pretty obvious that it's not there. But a lot of times I get stuff just from screwing around, or I'll go through my old notebooks and I'll think, I really like the verse in this song, but the chorus sucks. And then this other song, I like the chorus, but I don't like the verse. And then this other song has a kind of an interesting bridge. You can shift stuff around, and then all of a sudden you have maybe 2 songs that were kind of okay, and you put them together and you have a good song all of a sudden. So sometimes I think lyrically I'm like too literal. It can be nonsense and still be a good song. I mean, look at Nirvana.
Yeah.
It was a lot of stream of consciousness stuff, but all his songs were awesome. So,
I think about that a lot. I listen to a lot of Wilco and a lot of Jeff Tweedy.
mhm.
And what he does a lot of times with lyrics, and it's a lot of it is not nonsense or just words that sound good jumbled together, and he's got a real knack for that. And I've tried that a couple times, and it always seems a little forced to me. I've snuck it in a few times here and there, but yeah, there's definitely an art to that.
It
And
has to
and it
sound good, and
yeah,
that's why the lyrics have to fit the music. Um, it can be a good song, but I think the great songs are where the lyrics and the music just fit perfectly, and that's that indefinable thing about songwriting that everybody's looking for and searching for and trying to get.
yeah,
And so there's 2 things to this whole music thing. One is like writing good songs and putting out good product. And then the other part, which is the far tougher part for me, is getting people to hear it,
yeah. That is the
like on
trick.
a mass scale. And as I've gotten older, this mass scale stuff is not near as important to me. Your mindset changes and what you're going after changes. When you're 24 and single, it's different than when you're married with 2 kids
Right.
and a wife in the pet sitting business. So we do all that stuff. And I'm just at this point, I'm really interested in the sync licensing world, and
Uh-huh.
getting your songs placed and pitched for movies and TV and video games and whatever, because there's a whole world out there of that stuff that's,
Yeah.
as you know, that's
Right.
really interesting to me.
Have you found your songwriting shift a little to focus more towards songs that will work in that specific area, or is your writing process the same, and you're just kind of targeting your output more
Well,
towards
I
that
think
rather than
I would have to get like some kind of steady thing in that world first, but writing to order is something that's interesting to me. In that way, it would totally shift if somebody was like, write me a Beach Boys type song. But what I do is on the last couple records, I'll have instrumental versions made too,
yeah,
because a lot of these sync places, they don't want work. Like Shelby, it wouldn't work for sync.
right. Too
This
specific
the
of a name.
movie would have to be about a girl named Shelby. It's not
Yeah,
like the most common female name. But if you take that song and you take the lyrics out, now it's just music, then it can
yeah,
work for any number of things.
right. And as a TV editor, a lot of times all you want is these 2 lines.
Yeah.
It could be the verse or the chorus. It doesn't matter. So having those mix minuses are huge, because me as the editor, I can I'll throw the instrumental in, and when I want to hit the lyrics that are going to work for the scene, pop the lyric up and then duck back into the instrumental. So yeah, so that's
Yeah.
key to get those mixed minuses as your, although less important now that, because AI can do it all. AI can just strip those lyrics right out,
Yeah.
which is pretty amazing. Brave new world that we're living in.
Yeah. AI is cool and terrifying, and it's both.
Yes, that perfectly sums it up. Super super cool, and also terrifying.
Right.
Yeah,
Even
definitely.
even the AI pictures of yourself, I always say I have to catch up to, robot David Brookings, because the AI pictures of yourself, you know, they're like, they look amazing. They look better than you look, so
Yeah.
you gotta try to it's hard to fight the robot though.
Yeah, for
The
sure. There
robots
are
are
no
writing songs
wrinkles.
now.
There are no wrinkles in AI,
Yeah, no,
Tim
it's
Wils Bach
great.
fig, which I
It's
like.
great.
Let's
Every
get those
hair
out of
is
there.
right in place. It's perfect,
Yeah. Yes. Or I have hair, in the AI
Oh, you have
pictures.
hair, right, of course.
So, you mentioned hooks a little earlier. So, that's big. That's prominent in your music. Anybody that listens will know that you're kind of you've got the hooks dialed in. So, is that when you're sitting down to write a song, are you focused on a hook first? Are you kind of writing towards the chorus, or how does that work for you?
You want it to not feel predictable, but it also has to flow. So if it's too weird, it doesn't work. If we're just strictly talking chords and changes and progressions, but something has to be in there that's like, oh, that's cool. That's a cool turn. It's from all the stuff I listened to and loved. Like I still study it when I listen to the Beatles or the Kinks or the Beach Boys, or that stuff is so special musically that it's sort of, I wonder if it really even matters what they're singing about. The music is so good. And I've
Right.
heard a lot of people asked, what's more important, the words or the music? Someone asked Dylan in an interview from 65 the other day, and the girl said, is the music as important as the words? And it was so Dylan. He was like, the music is just as important as the words. So that's kind of, I agree with that totally. It's just as important. And if it's boring, I'm out. Like when I'm listening to songs, I can't do that. I don't know. There's certain artists out there, the words can be cool, but if it's just 3 chords, I'm personally not as into it. It has to do something that moves a little bit. It has to go into some different realm for a second, at
Yeah.
least for a second, even if
Right.
that's adding. So I write a lot where I play a D or a D minor, but you throw something else in there, whether that's putting a B flat in the bass or whether that's shifting something in there. Has to be a little different to me to make it interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So, delivering that unexpected turn, and like you said, it can just be just a second, just a little,
Mm-hmm.
chord here that you didn't expect coming, a little turn of phrase or whatever. This keeps it kind of exciting, right? It's not, it keeps it fresh and new for the listener to kind of, grab onto and keep going and finish out the song. And mood is so important, right? It's like you mentioned, what's
Yeah.
important, what's more important, the music or the lyric? It kind of, it's almost the wrong question, right? It's like,
Yeah.
well, it's all working together, and you're trying to convey a mood, and that's what really, for the most
Yeah.
part, connects with people is
Absolutely.
if you're conveying that in the right way.
I mean, obviously, they're right behind me. The Beatles are everything to me, and a lot of people kind of diss their early stuff, but they changed the game. And even like From Me to You, it's all da 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 dum dum da. But then when it goes to I got arms that long, it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That song's in C, and all of a sudden it goes to a G minor 7, and most people wouldn't do that. And so that
Right.
makes you kind of perk up and be like, "Oh, that's cool." And so I love little stuff like that.
There's kind of a conversation lately in popular music where the bridge has kind of gone away to a degree. What are your, I think I know, but what's your opinion on a bridge in a song?
My opinion is that maybe I should stop having a bridge in every song, because I have one in almost every song. Hard Times doesn't really have a bridge. It has 2 parts. But if let's say it only has 2 parts, if you put that second part in a place it's not expected, it can serve as the bridge without being different chords if you schedule it right within the clock of a song. But
Yeah.
that sounds like nonsense too. But no, I know what I mean. I don't know if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
that makes sense. I mean, to me, it does make sense to me. I've never actually done that. To me, when I'm writing, it's like it's after the bridge goes after the second chorus, and it has to be
yeah,
different a different
yeah,
chord
pretty
structure.
much.
But that's my like specific kind of kink that I'm stuck on. And as I grow as a songwriter, I need to find ways to, either eliminate the bridge completely or do what you're saying. Like, okay, yeah, maybe just let's sequence this song. You were talking about earlier about how you can't really force a song.
Yeah.
When you sit down and you go, I'm going to write a song like this, and I've done that. I'm sure you've done that. And it just never works. Like
Yeah.
I keep telling myself, you need to write a song that starts with the chorus. There's a handful of songs
Yeah.
and they're so cool. And I have never been able to wrangle one like that. I don't know what it is, but I've sat down a few times. It just never works out for me. So
Yeah, maybe we should each write a song that starts with the bridge. I don't think I've ever done that.
yeah.
Oh, my friend Ben last week, he was over. He showed me this awesome tuning I've never done before. He tuned the high E string to a D, and he showed me this
Okay.
cool song he wrote like that. And then I showed him the way that I have a couple songs where I tune the E to a B, which gives it like
Ah,
this 12 string effect and makes it where, like, if you play a C chord, it doubles the C. But anyway, so we both had this. We did the songwriting challenge game. I was like, all right, I'm going to write one where the E string is in D, and you write one where the E string is in B, and we'll give each other a week and we'll send it.
I've done a handful of those songwriting type games. I love that so much. I've always been very deadline driven.
Yeah, yeah. It
So for
helps a lot.
me, like, I know, like, okay, if the deadline is squishy or I'm just writing for whatever, I can, like, go round and round on a song and I work on it for 6 months. But if I'm in a group of other people and the topic comes out on Monday and you have until next Monday to write the song, like, I love that.
Yeah.
Like, some of the songs are going to turn out great. Some of them are going to turn out crap. Some of them are going to turn out somewhere in between. But at the end of it, I'm going to have a finished song. The record that I put out in 2019, Indianapolis, which, by the way, is the least Googleable name in the world for a record. And I don't recommend anyone make up a word that you can't Google. It's terrible. No one can find your record. Anyway, that's an aside. Now I'm rambling.
No,
But
you're
anyway,
right. We run into that with Apple Music with search stuff all the time. The harder something is to search, the harder it is to find.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
please
totally.
continue.
It's yeah. But so I had started a group, like, I don't know, 2014, 2015. And that was the thing. I just got a group of people together, and I heard of this thing from one of my favorite artists called Bob Schneider, he's kind of famous for this game. He takes a word or a phrase, throws it out to his group of people, and you have a week to write the song. And if you don't write the song, then you're out of the group. So I did that with a handful of my friends, and literally half of that record is songs that came from that contest game, whatever you call it, it ended up lasting about 14 weeks before everybody was kind of like, life got
That's
in the
great.
way and basically everybody was out. But yeah, I love something like that.
But one more thing on the songwriting games, my friend Jason and I back in the day, we would have we were both in a band together. I moved to Memphis with him from Virginia, but we would have these contests where you go in the room for 30 minutes and we would come out, and this was back when it was all just drinking, girls, guitar parties, just it was, great times. But anyway, we'd
Yeah.
come back out, he'd play his song, I'd play my song, and depending on the reaction we'd get, we'd be like, oh, this enters the charts at number 12. It's a big top 20 hit. And if the girls didn't like it, we'd be like, oh, it's only number 92 this week, or whatever. It was a fun, stupid thing. But that's all good, healthy stuff to be doing, the songwriting challenges.
Yeah, for sure. You at one point was it once a day? Was it once a week? All the Beatles songs on YouTube? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I did. It was 209 Beatles songs in 209 days. So it was sort of a songwriting study coupled with me just trying to get them out of my system. So the first time I did it, I ate these, you guys have these, we hadn't been in California that long. This was when I was still in San Jose. And the pot brownies out here are sensational. So I had one, and then this is how I came up with that idea. So I did Love Me Do, and I'm like totally glazed on that one. But anyway, I started doing it. It started getting hits, and then it was really fun. I'd pull Shelby in, and she'd do some harmonies, or I'd film them in different locations. If I had a gig that day, I would just do whatever song was on the list. I did them chronologically, and it took 209 days. So I did that in 2010, 2011. But my rule to myself was I had to post one a day. So I might record 3 or 4 in one day.
Gotcha.
I'd change shirts or whatever. But that was my grandma died when I did that, and I still had to, I recorded 3 or 4 songs early on in that thing and then posted them every day. I was thinking about what I haven't done are the 3 Free as a Bird, Real Love, and Now and Then. I was thinking about doing those 3. And then they did so many cool. I even did the covers. I did everything that they did on an album except Revolution 9. That's impossible.
Nice. So yeah, I would imagine, you were probably already familiar with a lot of the songs, but what a great kind of, education going through.
Yeah, it was really cool.
It kind of almost rhymes with, what the Beatles did in their early days playing the Cavern Club, and they played a lot of covers, and you put your voice and your fingers through all the songs that are hits. You're gonna, you're inevitably going to take away some of that, some of that learning with you. Or similarly, like, I don't know if you ever listened to Weezer or Rivers, what's his name? Rivers
Cuomo. Yeah, they're one of my favorites.
Yeah. But he talks about, he's got notebooks, stacks and stacks of notebooks, where all he's literally done is taken a hit song and kind of charted it out, right? He like kind of takes notes and deconstructs it. And it's when you hear about that, it's like, it's kind of no wonder that these guys write such amazing pop songs, because they're such students of.
Yeah.
It sounds so un-rock and roll to like be cerebral and like study music, but that's, if you're trying to write pop songs and you want people to sing along, which I do, and I feel like you do too, you do a good job of it. That's kind of what you have to do. You have to kind of dig in and see what works, and
it's the most rock and roll it's the most rock and roll. Sorry about the dogs. It's the most rock and roll thing you can do, is to study how the greats did it. I love to study that stuff. And then it's cool because my job, I have to do that too, making playlists for Apple. But it's just, there's so much we can learn about why did that song suck? Why is that song good?
Yeah.
Why did that song give me goosebumps right there? And then the other part of it that's beautiful is sometimes you can't explain it. And that's really neat, I think, with music.
So what creative projects are you working on now?
I'm in that phase of writing and of writing this next one. And, like I'll get a handful of songs. Well, my favorite thing about putting a new record together is, let's say you've got 8 songs. You start recording them, then others start to come. So you might write 3 new good songs, and now they kick out the 3 worst songs you had from that original batch of 8. Mm-hmm. And then you come up with another 2. I'm sure this happens with you too. Then you come up with another one you like, and now that kicks out that worst one. But sometimes a song that's not as good as one song, it like fits the tenor of the album better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I find that, and then I love sequencing. And I spend a lot of time thinking about, should this be the opening? What's a good opening song for this album? Like on Mania, Hard Times was the last song I wrote on that. And at first I was going to put it last, but I was like, no, this has to go first. First of all, it might be the best song on it. And it's different in the world now. It's different than the old records in the 60s and 70s. They might have the biggest hit, might be second to last,
Well, we're almost back in a singles world right now instead of
it's
album.
It's definitely
focus,
a singles world too. Yeah, people.
Yeah,
that's another thing where I did the EP. Like, no one has the bandwidth. I mean, there's not that many people listening to me in the first place. But if I get lucky enough to have somebody get to the 9th song,
yeah,
it's pretty cool. So maybe I thought that too. Like, do I just start putting out 4-song EPs?
Yeah,
and releasing them more frequently.
I don't know. I'm still, maybe it's just because the age that we're at, but I'm still an album guy. I want to dig in. I want to hear the whole thing.
Me too.
I'm just about to let you go. I want to ask about one more specific song. One of Us Is Crazy. Tell me about that song. That's a fun one too.
That's my top streaming song, and it has like maybe 350,000 streams.
Wow.
Which is still, that's what I mean. Like, that's awesome.
Right.
But
yeah,
that if
it's
a
nothing
label
in the
saw
grand
that,
scheme
they'd
of
be
things,
like,
yeah.
this doesn't even have 500,000 streams,
Right,
but it's all
yeah.
relative. I'm proud that it's been played that many times.
Yeah,
That's
no,
cool.
that's incredible.
That song it's about two different people who I'm close with. And I can't say, I've never really said who it's about, but the idea of it came from the movie Black Sheep with Chris Farley and
Okay.
David Spade. And there's a part where David Spade says to Gary Busey, let's call off operation. One of us is crazy. So I thought that was funny. So here's the humor coming in, but one of us is crazy. The other one is me. Is really cold, but it's funny too.
Yeah,
So
totally. And relatable.
that song came very quickly, and it's upbeat, it's fun. It has a cool key change in the end. I like to do that too. Sometimes I'll do a key change, and a key change is interesting because you can go a whole step up. In that case, One of Us Crazy is a half step key change. So the song's in G, and then by the end of it, it's in G sharp. But it always gets a good reaction, and I'm proud of that one. And that one I knew it wasn't going to go first, but it can't go too far back on the album. So it's fourth, I think, on the record.
Yeah. Who knows if anybody's going to get to that final track on the record,
Right.
other than like my parents and, my wife.
I try so hard to keep the peace, but you're like a hurricane rolling down the beach. The storms are coming in, and there's nowhere to go. I wish that I could let it pass, but oh no, no. 'Cause there's something wrong with you, and it's obvious to see. One of us is crazy, the other one is me.
All I say about One of Us is crazy, the other one is me, is that it's not about Shelby.
All right. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had to this is not about you, honey, but it's,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Nice. But yeah, that's such a relatable lyric, and the hook is great. So yeah, I hope people will dig in and listen to that song. And 350,000, that's amazing. So I've got 3 singles released from the record that comes out next week. And the first 2 have broken through the 1,000 play mark. So it actually says now on Spotify how many plays I have. And that's huge for me. I'm thrilled with that. But
That's huge. That means you exist on Spotify, when you get over that thing where it's saying minus 1,000, and now how many you have. And I only have like probably 6 or 7 songs on Spotify. A lot more of my plays are on Apple Music than Spotify for whatever reason. I think it's really interesting to see how people heard your shit. Like analytics, I look at every week. Why is some girl in Brazil listening to the song?
Right.
I don't know. I wish I did know, but it's cool that they're listening at all.
Yeah, exactly. People are listening and digging it, and that's really, it's not the only reason we do it, but it certainly helps.
Yeah.
I want to play with the band. I want to, a full room, even if it's a small room, I don't care.
Yeah.
But, you just want to show up and play.
Yeah.
And speaking of, thank you so much for showing up and having a conversation with me. It's always fun to talk with you and enjoy your music, and look forward to what's coming down the pike for you next.
Thank you, man. It's really, really fun to talk with you, and good luck with the new pod. I'm honored to be on it with you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Thanks for listening to Wils Bach's Song Pod. You've made it this far. Please rate, review, like, love, add, subscribe to all the things on whatever app it is that you're hearing my voice. That lets the almighty algorithm know that interesting people like you like this show, and will serve it up to other cool and interesting people. Wils Bach's Song Pod is produced by Wils Bach Entertainment, LLC. Mixed, mastered, and edited by me, Tim Wils Bach. See you next time.